Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1766A, and today's date is January 15th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Restructuring of the World Begins. Get ready, here it comes. Now, before I get started, I want you to take a look at this. This is a coin that everyone is raving about. It's a Morgan silver dollar, a runaway success in its day and about to do the same now. It's the superstar of the collectible world. One sold for $587,500 not so long ago. Once you start and get the collecting bug, you'll be dreaming of these in your sleep. Discover the thrill, pleasure, and joy of unearthing these rare coins. Noble Gold can start you off with one of their specially selected collector's choice coins. Take the first steps to a lucrative and absorbing hobby and go to historicsilvercoins.com and save $5 per coin by using the code X22 today. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, as we can see, the world is changing. And with CEOs, different politicians, and others stepping down from their positions, this is a chance for the patriots to take those positions and change the entire world. And that is what we are experiencing right now. As we know, there are many individuals in corporations, in government positions, they're all stepping down. Now, when I say all, does that mean everyone at once? No. Those that are corrupt, those that had a certain agenda, those that were pushing a certain narrative, their time is up. If we go out to the UK, we've been talking about this for quite a bit now, and we've been talking about the BREXIT and how I didn't think Theresa May, and I believe all of you didn't think Theresa May was going to get the votes, because the plan that she was pushing was not a plan for the people, it was a plan for the EU. Now, guess what happened? Well, it looks like the BREXIT deal that she was pushing completely flopped. The UK Parliament voted down the Brexit plan. The vote was 432 votes to 202, a margin of 230. That is huge. Now, will May still be in her position a month, 2 months, 3 months from now? We don't know. But we do know is that the people have spoken. They do not want a central bank plan. Now, here in the United States, Trump was tweeting out, and he tweeted out the following. Volkswagen will be spending $800 million in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They'll be making electric cars. Congratulations to Chattanooga and Tennessee on a job well done. A big win, which means more jobs, more people working, preparing the United States for the transition. Now, everywhere in the United States, we're starting to see things start to really break down. And I'm not just talking about the real estate. We're going to see companies that are in trouble. We've already looked at the retail market, and a lot of the retail stores, they are in trouble right now. If we look in California right now, PG&E, well, they are in big trouble right now. And it looks like the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for this one. Remember, PG&E, they filed bankruptcy back in 2001. Didn't we go through a recession back then? Yeah, we did. Now, it looks like PG&E, I should say, they are going to be declaring bankruptcy once again. And this is not a very good sign. It means something is wrong here. And we were talking about how CEOs, how certain individuals and corporations and governments and whatnot, they've been resigning, stepping down for one reason or another. Now, since PG&E, they're going bankrupt, I find it very interesting that Rothschild vice chairman is going to resign from the PG&E board. Roger Kimmel is going to be resigning from the company's board. Looks like everyone's jumping ship. When everything goes under, everyone who was involved, they start to leave because they don't want to be caught up in it. Now, we've been talking about this economic illusion. And to be clear, this economy has not improved since 2008. When we went through the crisis in 2008, all the central bankers did was they created an illusion. They manipulated numbers with the help of the deep state, and they funded many different central banks, banking systems, to keep the system afloat. And what is happening right now is, since the central banks are pulling back, and remember they had a different plan, they thought they were going to pull back, raise interest rates, blame it on Trump, and then keep control of the system and get rid of Trump. But what did Trump do? Well, he turned it all around and used their manipulation against them. So the central banks, they were on a path to get rid of their balance sheet, to raise the interest rates, and they just couldn't do a 180 when they saw Trump making the economy look fantastic. They were stuck, so they had to move forward to make it look like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do anyhow, everything is great. But what's been happening here is that since they've been dumping everything off of their books and raising rates, the global money supply has declined rapidly over the last year and a half. In fact, global money supply growth using M1 is now flirting with the lows seen in mid-2008. Lower money supply growth has often pointed to weaker global economic momentum going forward. In fact, if one uses global industrial production growth as a proxy for the global economic expansion or contraction, the world is now almost certainly in a recession. The only question is, when will the economists actually acknowledge it? Now, Trump is a businessman. He went to the Wharton School of Business. And we know from his tweets before he was president, he was talking about how the stock market was in a bubble, how things were manipulated, that we needed to bring back gold, how the Fed was printing way too much currency, that the Fed needs to be dealt with. He knows what they were up to. He got into office and he could have said, hey, listen, let's just tell the truth that the economy is fake. Well, if he did that, we would see complete and utter chaos. It would not benefit what he wanted to do. He wanted to reverse everything the globalists, the elite, the central bankers were doing. So he had to use their weapons against them. And this is exactly what he's been doing. This is why when the central bank, if you noticed, before he became president, they started to raise the rates at that time. And then when he became president, they started to move a lot faster in raising the rates. This is because they thought they had the control, they thought they had the narrative. If you look at the mainstream media today, they're all reporting the same thing. They know the exact date when the recession is going to hit. That's 2020. Well, we've been in a recession. It's the statistical numbers that have been, letting us see a different picture, which is the illusion. Trump knows all this. And what he's done was he's turned everything around. Remember, he's dismantling everything right now. Can he do it all at once and just say, hey, I'm going to dismantle everything? No. He's taking one piece at a time. Started off as soon as he came into the office, he did the easiest thing possible. Said, yeah, TPP, dead. He wanted to get rid of NAFTA, but that was tied up in Congress, and it was a complete nightmare the way they designed it, so it had to be renegotiated. And we can see that he pulled out of the Paris climate deal. He also decided to speak out about globalism. He started to make bilateral trade agreements. He went against the World Trade Organization. And we see that the individual that was in the World Bank, that individual stepped down 3 years before he was supposed to. So what's happening right now? The central bank was on a path and they couldn't get out of it because their mission was completely different than what it is right now. Their mission was to bring down the economy, blame it on Trump. Trump put Powell into power in the Fed, and their mission has changed a little bit. But the bad guys behind the scenes, they still believe it's the same exact mission, which it is not. Now, we need to remember that all of this is happening at once. And the global economic system is crashing behind the scenes. And when we look at the shutdown, which we discussed yesterday, we can see the shutdowns even differ from other presidents. Now, this shutdown that Trump is handling right now is completely different than Obama's back in 2013. The marching orders in the last administration, those marching orders were to weaponize the shutdown, to make it as painful as possible What did they do? Well, they were told not to keep programs running, not to keep services running, not to have federal workers delivering services as a policy matter and as a political matter. One example of the differences in action is this year. The Internal Revenue Service will be able to, for the first time, issue tax refunds during the shutdown. The senior administrative official noted that the agencies are also implementing Vaught's directive to make the shutdown as painless as possible right now. IRS right now is going to verify mortgage applications while we're in a shutdown. What they're saying is they're giving guidance to the agencies about how to look at things and how to find money to keep everything operational. And this is coming from an individual in government. The Department of the Treasury determined that even though the program has run out of funding, they were able to identify fees that they had collected that could actually transfer into this program. Perfectly legal. They came to OMB to approve it, which means they looked everywhere to figure out how to fund certain departments, and they found the money. Now, during Obama's shutdown, that was political theater. They fenced up war memorials. They prevented veterans from honoring their fallen brethren. In 2013, after the Republican House and the Democratic Senate failed to come to terms, the federal government spent money to maximize disruption, including shutting down parking lots to President George Washington's privately owned home, removing the handles from bike path water pumps, closing private shops and restaurants on federal lands, fencing off Capitol Hill turtle statue, creating new government websites to explain the existing websites weren't funded, and taping Capitol Hill community notice boxes shut. On the flip side, the Trump administration has kept national parks and monuments open by tapping into entrance fees to generate the revenue needed to provide basic services. Former National Park Services Deputy Director P. Daniel Smith hailed the move as an extraordinary step. So Trump is trying to, and his administration is trying to make this shutdown easy for a lot of people. Obama used it as a weapon, and they pushed pain on certain people. That's not what this shutdown is about. Even though the mainstream media and Nancy Pelosi and Schumer are out there, they're all talking about this. This is about something very, very different. This is about getting rid of the bloat in government that has been put there by the deep state over the many, many, many years. And we'll be talking about that in the next report. But what I wanted to talk about is the World Bank. Now, I know there were news reports that Ivanka Trump, she was going to be slated to move into this position, which that is completely fake, phony, and false. Trump is going to pick someone for the World Bank. Now, remember, Mr. Kim, who was in this position, his agenda was to move forward with the Paris Climate Accord and keep on this trajectory. Trump is going to put someone in there that's completely the opposite of moving forward on the Paris Climate Accord. The world, the structure of the world is changing right now as more and more patriots are put into position of power. The globalist dream of having everyone pay for a carbon tax and everyone come under a one world government, under a one world currency controlled by the central bank, because that is the central bank's dream. That is coming to an end. This is why France and Germany are trying to combine both of their countries' economic systems, because they realize the entire globalist system is falling apart. And it's going to continually fall apart because globalism is over. The central bank day of reign is over, and everything is changing. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.